Hi, this is Sarah Mikesell with the Pig Site, and today we're here with Dr. Jay Calvert. He is a research director with Zoetis. Thanks for being with us today, Jay.
Well, thanks, Sarah. It's a pleasure to be here.
Very good, and we're here today at the Leman Swine Conference in St. Paul, Minnesota, and you presented to the group today, and I'm going to kind of read through it because you covered a lot of ground. It was vaccination strategies to reduce PRRS virus recombination. So can you tell us a little bit about your message to the audience today?
Sure, I'd be happy to. The number one problem, I think, in PRRS these days from a vaccine point of view is the emergence of new strains of PRRS. And since the beginning, we've had new strains, a lot of diversity. We thought we knew it was all about mutation, changes in amino acids in the individual strains over time. They take on new characteristics. With the onset of more common whole genome sequencing and recombination analysis, we see there's another mechanism. Recombination seems to be a very key factor. So I talked a little bit about recombination. The mechanism for RNA viruses is a little different than it is for DNA. It's a strand switching or template choice mechanism, but it can easily transcribe a piece of one virus genome, one PRRS virus genome, and then jump to another template and transcribe another piece, and this generates the recombinant virus. And in the right settings, some of those recombinant viruses can undergo multiple rounds of recombination and create complex patterns. For example, I showed one from the US. It had 8 different segments of sequence that alternated between being 99% identical to either vaccine or A or vaccine B, all the way across the genome. And behind that is a story about a customer who was switching from vaccine A to B and decided to use up the last of one vaccine and start the new vaccine on the same lot of PRRS on the same day. So that's probably the worst case scenario. Definitely a chance for recombination between the vaccine strains, which happened, and caused some clinical signs, an uptick in abortions. So we figured that one out. But then I talked about other situations, examples between vaccine strains combining with each other or with a field strain or field strains combining with each other. And the bottom line to that is that we should always try to avoid circumstances where you can infect the same pig with two different PRRS strains, vaccine or otherwise, at the same time. That's necessary to get recombination. If you can avoid that completely, you won't have any recombination. So the rest of the talk was about how can we manage things in order to have less recombination in the herd by avoiding those circumstances. So talked about the timing of vaccination. Whole herd vaccination is important because you have preset time intervals. If you have to change vaccines, you have 3 to 4 months until you're going to revaccinate the sows. That can be used as a cooling off period to take you from the time when the sows see the old vaccine till they first see the new vaccine, and allows the old vaccine to disappear into that time interval. Other tips is to always use the same vaccine on the farm. Don't use a different one on the gilts, in the gilt developer unit, and in the sow herd. And always vaccinate the gilts with the new vaccine going into the sow herd. Another thing is vaccinate the sows and the piglets with the same vaccine unless you're going to move the piglets off-site, vaccinate them somewhere else. If you're using a vaccine that allows vaccination of the piglets at processing time when they're still on the sow, you might not want to do that for the cooling off period. You might want to stop doing that, vaccinate those piglets at weaning instead, and then once the cooling off period's over and you start using the new vaccine, you can consider resuming that vaccination at processing. And I think that's a good summary, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, there was a lot of content there, and I think one of the questions I would say is bottom line, right? When you think about what this means for a producer on farm, what's your, the number one thing perhaps that they should be doing?
I think it's most important to recognize that it is recombination that can lead to new strains. And, for the benefit of your own pigs and your neighbors, it would be a good thing to contemplate the consequences of allowing two viruses to be in your herd at the same time and taking reasonable precautions. Maybe that's delaying a vaccination or separating pigs that have seen other vaccines. I think that's the bottom line.
Very good. Well, thanks so much for all the information today. It was an excellent presentation, so appreciate all your time.
Well, thank you very much, Sarah, for this time.
This is Sarah Mikesell with the Pig Site.